What's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, the latest physique update from Martin Fitzwater at under 3 weeks out from the 2025 Mr. Olympia. At this point, we're about 2.5 weeks out. We're getting very close. And Martin is a guy that we haven't talked as much about, despite the fact that at last year's Olympia, he was top 4. And I think a big reason for that is two things. Number one, he hasn't posted very many updates at all, at least recent updates, going into the show. And I think the second reason being his placing at the Pittsburgh Pro. I think that diminished a little bit of his momentum going into the Olympia. He was third place at the Pittsburgh Pro this year. That was the only show that he did. I think a lot of people were expecting him to be top 2 or maybe even win that show. And I think the biggest factor in the lack of momentum and maybe the lack of discussion about Martin, I think is Nick Walker placing ahead of him at the Pittsburgh Pro and almost winning Pittsburgh. Because I think a very notable thing last year, even though last year was a really good year for Martin, winning Detroit, second at the New York Pro, beating Chris Bumstead after the Olympia at the Prague Pro, at the Olympia placing 4th, Nick Walker was not in that 2024 Mr. Olympia. So the fact that he lost to Nick in Pittsburgh, I feel like in a lot of people's minds, maybe knocks him out of the top 4 at this year's Mr. Olympia. But I think it's hard to say with Martin because I think it's fair to say he's probably made some improvements between the Pittsburgh show and now. And I think a big thing to consider is last year in 2024, the improvements that he was able to make from April when he did the Detroit show to the Olympia in October were pretty massive. He looked a lot different at the Olympia than he looked in Detroit back in April of last year. And with the Pittsburgh show being May of this year, almost the same distance between the Olympia and the Pittsburgh, I'm assuming he's going to come back better than ever. That was really the big appeal of Martin in 2024 was the rapid improvements, probably one of the best turnarounds in 1 year's time. So I'm not fully in the camp that's counting Martin out at the Olympia this year. I think I would be surprised if he's not in the first call out, but I am one of the people that I look at what happened in Pittsburgh and I feel like Nick Walker is going to be in that top 4 range. And I think to do that, well, definitely to do that based on last year's placings, he would have to push out Martin. I think Nick will be in that top 4, maybe even higher than that. But I really don't see Martin necessarily knocking out Derek, Sampson, or Hottie, because I think Derek was the closest that Martin was to knocking somebody out of that top 3 last year, and Derek beat him pretty decisively at the Pittsburgh Pro. And I think it's probably likely that he's going to beat him again at the Olympia. I still see Martin probably top 5. But then you've got to consider also these newcomers. I just saw this update of GoodVito today, this back lat spread pose. GoodVito looks insane, and I think it's really unfortunate that we only got to see GoodVito compete once this year, and it wasn't against any of the top guys. I was definitely one of the people looking forward to seeing GoodVito in the Pittsburgh Pro lineup to see how he stacked up against a guy like Martin, especially the new and improved version of Martin, not the 2024 version of Martin that GoodVito wasn't able to beat in Detroit. But, I mean, it's fair to say GoodVito looks absolutely nuts here, and the back poses we know are not his best poses. And, of course, he's utilizing some primetime goon light here. But look at his hamstrings. Look at the size of his legs even from the back. Hamstrings are carved out. Glutes are striated. His back looks wider. He looks like he's hitting this pose a little bit better than he tends to hit it on stage. Just crazy detail. The back double is a bit of a different story for him. It's not his strongest pose, and I think that's a pose where guys like Nick, Martin, Derek, it's going to be very hard for GoodVito, I think, with the back poses in general, to crack those, top 5-ish placings with guys with a back double like Nick, Martin, Derek. That's some pretty tough company. And I did see somebody just put up a side-by-side comparison of GoodVito's latest update versus Nick's latest back lat spread post. I don't think it's a super fair comparison because GoodVito's under just insane lighting. But, apples to oranges comparison, it does look pretty impressive next to Nick. But I do think the back double bicep is a much different story. GoodVito's very strong in some of those front shots, like the front double, the front lat spread. I don't think he's beating Nick in the side shots. I don't think he's beating Nick in the most muscular. I don't think very many people can beat Nick in the most muscular. And I think Nick's got the back double. I think Nick still has a GoodVito all day. So I think this is a bit of a maybe absurd comparison. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Martin, GoodVito, who's going to place higher at the Olympia? Then another guy to consider here that we have not ever seen on the Olympia stage. This is the 4th year he's qualified. Behrouz Tabani. I saw that Milos posted this update of Behrouz at 3 weeks out. He says they still don't know about the visa. They think it could be any day now. I'm not super optimistic. I really hope that he's able to get it, but man, I watched this posing video. Behrouz looks incredible, man. Just absolutely incredible. And you talk about structure, size, conditioning, a perfect combination of those 3 things. That's Behrouz. And you look at his lower body, how much he's brought up his legs. His legs at one point were considered to be a weak point for him. His legs look good. When he turns around from the back, his hamstrings are super separated. His legs look like they have a good amount of size. Great V-taper, small waist. He's in shape, striated glutes. I mean, the guy is clearly ready to compete. If he's not able to make it, it's just an absolute shame. If I'm being totally honest, you talk about all these really exciting newcomers to the Open Olympia this year. Neckzilla, GoodVito, Kalasinski. I think all these exciting big-name guys that we've been talking about for the past few months, I think if Behrouz is at the Olympia able to compete, I think he beats every single one of those guys. You talk about who has the best chance at being first call-out or cracking the top 6 between GoodVito, Neckzilla, Kalasinski. I think Behrouz is at the top of that list above all those guys, to be honest. And that's why it's such a shame that he's not able to compete. I mean, we're so excited to see these guys. Neckzilla, GoodVito. They've been like the talk of the year, these guys. But I think, honestly, realistically, Behrouz probably beats all of them at the Olympia and has the best shot at placing the highest of all the first-timers. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Who do you think of all the newcomers to the Olympia this year will place the highest? Right now that comes to mind. We should also include Jordan Hutchinson in that. But Jordan, Neckzilla, GoodVito, possibly Behrouz. In my opinion, Behrouz places the highest out of all of them. Now, the final story that I've got for you guys today. Chris Bumstead gives a recent physique update at 2.5 weeks out from the Olympia. He does say this is his current physique. And again, I'm impressed. And I'm going to show you guys a side-by-side here in a minute of this time last year, what Chris looked like when he was about to compete and win his final Olympia title compared to now, because I think it's very impressive. And, I mean, when you look at this update, obviously Chris is a little bit downsized. He's not as full. He doesn't look as, obviously he's not competing in 2.5 weeks. He doesn't look as lean. He doesn't look like he's about to step on stage like he did this time last year. And you look at the side-by-side, I'll put the current version on the left and last year's version on the right. And like I said, he's a little bit downsized. Obviously, he's fuller, in better condition last year. But considering that Chris is retired, and considering he's not stepping on stage in 2.5 weeks, I think the lack of difference between these 2 updates is actually pretty shocking. I mean, the update that you're looking at on the right is this time last year, Chris about to step on stage in a couple of weeks and win the Classic Physique Olympia. Obviously, he doesn't look exactly the same now, this time this year, but he looks, honestly, pretty darn close to prime Chris Bumstead. He's just a little bit downsized, a little bit less full, obviously not as lean as somebody that's about to step on stage, but I'm pretty surprised by how similar he looks to the version of Chris that was about to compete and win the Classic Physique Olympia last year. And I'm not going to go on another long rant like I have before about how I think we haven't seen the last of Chris Bumstead on a bodybuilding stage or Classic Physique stage. But I look at this recent update from Chris today, and I think that, again, that's still in my mind, that he's still got it. He's barely missed a step. I mean, he's fully, at this point, retired. He's not training. He's training, but he's not training for an Olympia title. He's not prepping for an Olympia title. It sounds like, for the most part, he's just been chilling. focusing on his health, focusing on his family. He just got married. All these things considered, he still has an incredible physique, man, and he's so young. He's only 30, and every time I say that, it blows my mind because he's accomplished so much at such a young age and in such a short amount of time. I still can't believe he's 2 years younger than I am. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Will we ever see Chris back on stage again? And that's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power, my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.